Hey guys, in this video I'll be comparing Ronnie Coleman's 2003 and 2007 Olympia versions to see what really changed between the 2 years. 2003 is arguably his best version due to his immense size and muscularity, while 2007 is known as his worst due to his flaw-ridden physique. It'll be interesting to see what the difference is between the 2 years. However, before the video does start, if you guys could like and sub, it would really help out the channel. With that all being said, let's get into this video. The front double has always been a very powerful pose for Ronnie from the start due to those massive arms and quads. However, in 2007, things were a little bit different. You can see that the disparity in the quad size, along with the noticeable atrophy of the 2007's left tricep, is pretty, noticeable. Ronnie sustained some sort of injury, whether it be a tear or nerve damage, that really messed up the left side of his upper body. The difference between his triceps really does throw off his symmetry, and the lacking quad size makes his overall symmetry even worse. Moreover, 2007's midsection is far less detailed, and his conditioning overall pales in comparison to 2003. That being said, his chest and biceps all look like prime Ronnie, however, the total package really is not there. The front lat spread is a telling pose for Ronnie, as in 2003 his front lat spread was really just insane, while 2007's looks pretty bad. 2003 has crazy conditioning coupled with ridiculous fullness, with almost every muscle being maxed out in potential. On the other hand, 2007 has tons of flaws within almost every muscle group, asymmetrical arms, lackluster lats, and downsized quads. Honestly, the arms wouldn't be as noticeable if the lats filled out the pose more. However, the difference in the lat exposure between the years is dramatic. For the positives, 2007 does have a great upper body conditioning and a tighter midsection than in the previous shot. However, that really isn't enough to compete. I will say that Ronnie looked much better at the 2007 finals pictured in this picture here than he did in the prejudging where he was wearing the red trunks, and that's because he was able to tighten up and come in a little bit drier. The side chest is actually a very impressive pose for 2007 and obviously an amazing one for 2003. It seems like Ronnie was able to keep all that mass in the upper body for 2007, as the atrophied arm is now out of the picture and he looks pretty good upstairs. The lower body isn't nearly as large in 2003, however, he does showcase really good separation and looks pretty comparable. The only major flaw with 2007's side leg is the midsection, which is blown out pretty badly. However, the mass conditioning and freak factor are all still there. Here's the rear double, and this pose shows you why Ronnie really didn't place any higher at the 2007 Olympia. As I mentioned earlier, the left side of his body really had some atrophy, and here it is pretty noticeable. His left lat has crept up pretty far, and coupled with that atrophied left tricep, really throws off the entire pose. There is no doubt that Ronnie isn't massive and freaky in 2007, however, his muscular balance and conditioning are no match for 2003. That being said, the right side of Ronnie's upper body does look pretty comparable size-wise, but his conditioning is nowhere near 2003. Moreover, his glutes and hamstrings present little to no definition, which is sort of uncharacteristic of Ronnie. The rear lat spread is a similar story to the last pose, however, the asymmetries are less noticeable. His back looks a lot more symmetrical in this pose than in the last one, but compared to 2003, there really is no contest. 2007's lower back shows barely any depth or separation, and his back looks so much thinner and lacks the thick, dense, and wide look of 2003. It does seem like Ronnie remembered to flex his lower body though, as his hamstrings and glutes do show much more definition than in the previous shot, but obviously not nearly as much as in 2003. This was one of Ronnie's worst poses during his career, however, I've always been rather impressed with his ability to execute it well in 2003. Sure, his tricep is still genetically weak and his midsection is unaesthetic, however, he really doesn't have any, glaring weaknesses in my opinion. The exact opposite can be said about 2007 though, as his arm he is showcasing is the one with the atrophy and it clearly looks twice as small as in 2003. Moreover, he isn't posing his midsection nearly as well as 2003, which does make it look a lot thicker and very unaesthetic. There really isn't much else to be said here, as Ronnie in 2007 looked pretty bad in this pose. The ab and thigh has also never been a really good pose for Ronnie, and in both years, I wouldn't really say he looks aesthetic or super impressive. That being said, 2007 does look like an absolute mess. His midsection is everywhere and super wide, and his conditioning is soft and his quads aren't showing the most separation. His V-taper actually doesn't look too bad, and his quads still have decent size. However, the pose is just not pleasing overall. 2003 doesn't look much better aesthetics-wise, but it is undeniable that his midsection, quads, and conditioning were far better. Here's the hands on hip most muscular, and here you can see that this picture is from the finals for Ronnie for 2007. Honestly, everything does look pretty good for him in the most muscular, as his midsection isn't any worse or better than 2003, and his flaws are pretty well hidden. Sure, 2003 is more polished and has better separation, of course, in the quads. However, 2007 does have some pretty solid striations in the chest and delts, and good vascularity overall. The crab most muscular is also a pretty good shot for 2007, as once again he hides all of his flaws well. Even the close arm, which has the atrophy, looks pretty ripped, large, and freaky, and his whole body really comes to life in the pose. 2003 does look more massive and full in the delts and quads, however his midsection is spilling over even more than in 2007, which is kind of funny. I've always been rather impressed with Ronnie's ability to look so good in the most muscular, even in his worst showings, and here is no exception. Alright guys, that about does it for this video. I think that Ronnie, while massive and freaky, was certainly not at his best in 2007. The atrophy on the left side of his body, coupled with his lackluster conditioning in the prejudging, left his physique looking much worse than at his peak. To be fair though, I don't think he necessarily looked, terrible or not in contest-ready shape, but he definitely was not a prime Ronnie Coleman. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know down below what other comparisons you'd like to see me make, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.